Diama-Grind and Seal. It's packaged in 5-gallon units. Before we go into the product itself, let's compare two systems, the polished concrete and also grind and seal. With polished concrete, you start off in your grinding steps, 30 grit metal, 70-80 metal, and a 50 grit copper. Then you move into the honing with 100 grit copper. Then you densify, 200 grit resin. Then you get into the polishing phase. And let's just say we're stopping at a 400 grit resin. You apply your guard, 2 coats, and you're finished. With the grind and seal, you start off with your 30 grit metal and you move to your 70-80 grit metal. Now, you can go beyond that with a 50 grit copper and 100 grit copper, but you could actually stop at that 70 to 80 grit metal. Then you apply 2 coats of the Diama-Grind grind and seal and you're finished. So comparatively, one has many more steps than the other. Is the durability the same? No, they're not. But and many times, the customer only wants a grind and seal system. So what is Diama-Grind Grind and Seal? It's a material that's formulated to be used in a grind and seal application. It's an acrylic, waterborne, high solid sealer. It reduces dusting, easy to clean. It slightly darkens the surface, but it retains that natural appearance of a ground concrete surface. The final appearance will have a higher gloss than just the ground surface itself. So when do you recommend this system? When a customer is looking for a sealer to be used on the ground floor. They have a slab that's ground, but needs more protection. They just don't want to leave it open. They'd like a gloss, but only want to grind the floor. They don't want to do a full polish. They were looking for a low-cost system. With this system, you only have 1 to 3 grinding steps, 2 coats of application of the material. In 4 to 6 hours, you can use light to medium use, and in 12 hours, full use. When it comes to the VOC regulatory compliance, many parts of the country have different regulatory requirements. Maricopa County, Phoenix, and also Southern California are the most stringent. This material does meet the intent of all regulatory VOC agencies for acceptance as a sealer for concrete. Let's look at the chemistry. It contains acrylic, which is a powder, water, and also co-solvent. The co-solvent liquefies the acrylic powder. Then water is added to create a flowable material. Once the material is applied to the floor, the water evaporates. You'll see this in a white appearance, and this white appearance, once the water's gone, will go away. The co-solvent then evaporates, leaving a clear film behind. All materials have limitations. Let's look at the cure time. If you apply your second coat before the first coat has had a chance to release all the water and solvent, you could cause alligator cracking in the second coat or retain some of that white appearance that we saw during the application. Temperatures, air and surface temperature during application needs to be between 50 and 90 degrees. During transportation and storage, the material will freeze, so you have to be cognizant of that. Prior to use, you always want to precondition your material above 60 degrees so it will have good flow characteristics. Also, if you're in a cooler temperature, such as that 50 degrees, it will slow down the evaporation of the water and solvent, so you have to be aware of that. Once it's applied, you want to stay away from ponding water. The material is breathable, so it allows moisture from the concrete to come up, but also it allows moisture from above to go in. So if ponding water is there for a long extended time, it could be absorbed into the film and cause a white hazing. And when it comes to protection from solvents such as brake fluid, gasoline, transmission fluids. This is not the system to utilize for that type of protection. But during your mock-up phase, you can always test different chemicals to see how they will react. The coverage rate of the material is dictated by the level of surface prep performed. If you stop at a 70 grit metal, you're going to obtain approximately 400 square feet per gallon for your first coat. If you bring it up to 100 grit copper, that's going to increase to about 600 square feet per gallon for your first coat. Second coat, somewhere between that 400 and 600 square feet for that second coat. Coverage rates are always provided as guidelines. These guidelines have been tested and proven. It's just that there are other factors such as the porosity of the concrete could absorb more of that first coat to build that initial film so that the second coat can fill in and create a uniform film. All cure times are based on lab conditions, which are 70 degrees Fahrenheit at 50% relative humidity. So if you have anything other than that, such as the lower temperature or higher humidity, it will extend these tack-free times and recoat times. So tack-free, 1 to 2 hours. Recoat time, 2 to 4 hours. Open to traffic, light traffic, 4 hours to 6 hours. And heavy traffic or normal use, 12 hours. The colder the temperature, the more this will be extended. In the application steps, this material is ready to use. Do not dilute. We recommend a mock-up to be installed on larger projects to determine coverage rates, tooling, and also the final results. The surface must be clean, dry, and free of all contaminants. If there is a curing compound or any sealer on there, that should be removed during the grinding phase. You do not have to grind any higher than 100 grit copper, but again, you can stop much earlier than that to reduce your cost. Also, once it's ground, vacuum, and auto scrub to remove all dirt and dust prior to the application, and always, if you're using an auto scrubber, allow the surface to fully dry. Apply enough material to satisfy the porosity of the substrate while leaving a thin film on the surface. If you're using a microfiber mop and your mop starts to flip, apply more material so that you have some lubrication for that microfiber to slide across the floor. You want to apply the material with an 18 to 24 inch microfiber pad and a low pressure pump sprayer. A Padco applicator or 1/4 inch microfiber roller cover may also be used. In small areas, a cigar roller or brush work well. Spray apply in a uniform manner in front of the microfiber mop, taking care of to minimize all lap marks. Do not over apply. But if your microfiber has a tendency to flip while dragging it across the floor, apply additional material to create more of a flow for that microfiber. Always spray wet into wet to produce a uniform film and use natural breaks such as concrete control joints as starting and stopping points. Here's an installer utilizing a Padco applicator. Instead of using a low pressure pump sprayer, they're just applying the material to the floor in puddles and dragging it across the floor. Notice when they're applying the material, it looks streaked. This streaking will go away once the water and solvent evaporate out of the material. If your final film contains that white haze to it, that means the material is applied too heavily or the temperatures are too cool and the humidity is too high. Here's the cured system. The white haze is gone and no streaking is visible. The concrete is slightly darker than original, but yet you retain the natural appearance of the ground slab itself. The grind and seal will fill in some cracking, but if all cracks need to be filled, utilize Diama-Pro Diama-Grout prior to your last diamond cut to fill in any type of imperfections that need to be filled. During the maintenance of the system, all spills should be removed as soon as possible. If you're seeing additional wear or abnormal wear in certain areas, or where something has spilled and removed the sealer, once it's cleaned extremely well, an additional coat may be applied. To retain the original gloss, it may be burnished, but not necessary. With all Diama-Pro chemicals and equipment, they all have a QR code on the packaging or on the side of the equipment. This QR code, once scanned, will bring you to the website where you can obtain product information, videos, brochures, technical data, and also manuals for that piece of equipment or chemical. Thank you for your time today. If you should have any other questions, please contact your Diama-Pro Systems representative.